top stories. What are these fema camps? Over to our main reporters. Tell us more.
FEMA crews have cleared the 72-acre site, running underground electric, sewer, water, and paved roads in a project costing in the tens of millions, building essentially an entire neighborhood in just 2.5 months. Survivors will live in these 1 to 4 bedroom housing units that look like this. 300 have already been placed. They'll come fully furnished and will look similar to this inside. FEMA's project manager says crews have exceeded expectations because they know just how important it is.
They're not walking between trailers. They're running from trailer to trailer to jump on the next project.
Crews are ready to bring in the final 100 units to complete this
about
project.
The camps at the border. We have this policy, which we just heard earlier on this show today, was in place and being used in some ways before it was even formally announced. We're hearing that they're going to be moving some of these detention sites onto military bases where we'll have less access, we'll know less what's going on. And this goes back to a number of different camps that we've seen in the past. One of the saddest examples was in France in the late 1930s when the Spanish Republicans were losing to Franco in the Spanish Civil War. Hundreds of thousands of them came across the border into France, and France wanted to keep them away from their main cities, so they built these pretty shoddy refugee camps, and they definitely started as refugee camps. But then when Hitler started World War II, they began shoving enemy aliens, so Germans who had fled Germany. Some of them were Nazis and Nazi sympathizers, but mostly they were Jewish refugees. So these communities were shoved together in these same camps. They evolved into these enemy alien camps, and conditions were awful there. People considered committing suicide. Children died in them. And then once France fell to the Nazis then actually took the Jews who had been held in these camps that hadn't escaped in the meantime, and they were deported to Auschwitz. And I don't think that Germany is going to invade, and there are not death camps, in play right now in the U.S., but it's very problematic, this detention that we're seeing, new doors opened to new kinds of detention, the deliberate separating of children from parents. I mean, what can you take from people who have nothing? You can take their children. And so we're deliberately inflicting harm on this vulnerable population. And when you look at that in connection with history and what other things tend to accompany crisis situations where things go terribly wrong, a new office being formed, and they've already started doing it with some of these cases, in which they're going to revisit naturalized citizens' applications and review them for whether they were misrepresenting certain things, whether they committed small crimes a decade or more ago that would technically allow that to be stripped. But it's just the overall approach of stripping citizenship is something that we see when we see this kind of irregular detention growing. Often it's accompanied in governments that go quite badly, that do bad things to their citizenry and to outsiders. It's accompanied by this wish to strip citizenship from people that you think don't deserve it. The most famous example, of course, is Nazi Germany stripping all German Jews of citizenship. But there are other examples. And I think this targeting that we've seen again and again through the rhetoric of animals and rapists that we see at the highest levels, combined with these policy efforts. And then last week as well, with this decision by the Supreme Court on the U.S. travel ban that the administration tried and tried and tried again until it could sort of pass muster. And that decision from Roberts last week said that the forcible relocation of U.S. citizens to concentration camps solely and explicitly on the basis of race is objectively unlawful. But a lot of scholars said right away, first of all, this is just limiting it to U.S. citizens.
I would not have been pleased to have been shuttled into the dome there. It's very tragic what people were going through, and it's simply because they weren't prepared for that. They had plenty of advanced warning, I will say this. Knew when hurricanes were coming. You watch that stuff, you have days and days to plan and make contingency plans and to get ready in case you have to. People don't do it. Have a couple of weeks worth of supplies set aside, then in 3 days, if you got your 72-hour kit, in 3 days you're going to be raising your hand as the FEMA trucks roll by. Take us. Please give some thought to the fact you might have to protect that something. talk about it. Make it an exercise for the kids so that they also can, number one, gain valuable experience in being prepared, but they can also be a part of it and feel like, they have enough confidence in themselves to help and to go through an ordeal. Go flip the power off one night and go the weekend without power and practice.
The security threats that worry him, Newt Gingrich lays out 3 scenarios: a weapon of mass destruction in an American city, a cyber attack, and something many have never heard of.
An electromagnetic pulse attack, which would literally destroy the country's capacity to function.
It's an EMP! But it's also a real threat, experts say, and it likely wouldn't look like that. An EMP attack, they say, is an intense burst of electromagnetic radiation. It can be triggered by detonating a nuclear weapon at high altitude, a weapon that could be launched by a rogue nation or a terrorist group with access to it. Detonated low to the ground, atomic weapons have a devastating physical shock. But detonated miles up in the atmosphere, experts say, the main impact is electrical. Energy that doesn't kill people but spreads like lightning, striking any electrical grid or circuitry, feeding into them, burning them out. Whole cities could go dark.
If you had a large-scale EMP event in the United States, everything would be disabled, because even things that weren't knocked out, let's say your car, which might be okay, but the electrical grid's going to be gone. There's going to be no way to do traffic lights. There's going to be no way to land ships. There's no way to get fuel to the gas stations to refuel your car. And if you got them there, the gas pumps wouldn't work.
Think of this fictional attack in the movie Ocean's 11. We demonstrated electromagnetic interference on a much smaller, less threatening scale.
Like I said, the world's going to end kind of prep. Stay away from the FEMA camps. I don't think those are good for you. I don't know what they're going to do to people there. But I don't want to live in this big, gigantic dorm with, 10,000 other people standing in line waiting on food. I don't trust them. I don't trust the people, and I don't trust the government who runs that agency. Observe, discuss, plan, and implement. The world and the weather and everything has become way too unpredictable not to be prepared. Don't come beating on my door thinking I'm going to come and welcome everybody in, because it ain't going to happen. Trust me.
New Cut Road divided this field, and the right side of the road was filled with which I thought was portable toilets. I never looked at them that close. Same in color, maybe black, but which was an odd color. A van pulled alongside of me, and it turned out to be the property owner. And he says their disposable coffins, said there was 125,000 there. And they were stacked, he told me 15 high. I asked him who owned them, and he stated that the CDC owned them and that they were leasing the land for storage. His brother worked with the CDC in Atlanta and had been asked by the CDC to do a 3-year extension to place temporary morgues all across the nation.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is National Public Health Institute and is one of the major parts of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The CDC plays the important role in the national health promotion, disease prevention, and preparedness. The main goal is to protect public health and safety through the control and prevention of disease, injury, and disability in the United States and the world. The CDC focuses national attention on developing and applying disease control and prevention. It especially focuses its attention on infectious disease, foodborne pathogens, environmental health, occupational safety and health, health promotion, injury prevention, and educational activities designed to improve the health of United States citizens. The CDC also conducts research and provides information on non-infectious diseases such as obesity and diabetes, and is a founding member of the International Association of National Public Health Institutes.
There had been as many as 500,000 of these grave liners or disposable coffins.
We're just getting an idea for the size of these boxes. What could these boxes be used for? Well, they're called casket liners. And that's an interesting term, isn't it? This is too big to be on the inside of a casket. Certainly this could be used as a casket. This is an inexpensive casket. But these liners can be used for more than just one.
People usually don't want to hear too much about this kind of thing. I just dropped it, and till I went to a luncheon, a fundraiser for Representative Saxby Chambliss. He was running for his second term for the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressmen, senators, state senators, and mayors. There was one table we probably had 2 3-star generals and a couple of 1-star with their spouses. So it was a real high-powered meeting. Spoke in behalf of nuclear devices that was missing from the old Soviet Union and the state that we face in this country. And he said we could lose tens of millions of people in the next decade. 2 to 3 weeks prior to that meeting that I had stumbled upon these, at that time, 125,000 disposable liners or caskets or coffins or whatever they could be termed as.
This is one field outside of one U.S. city. That's a lot neater to stack them in disposable coffins than what we saw after the tsunami, when we would see bulldozers digging holes and taking bodies and pushing bodies into holes. America can stomach this much better.
Back at the studio. Now, that was an eye-opener. So many different views. Is it a coincidence they've been planning all of this for so long? Now, you make your choice. Thank you for watching Worldwide News. Over and out.
Some food for thought, if you will.